A fragment of the alternative Bible, entitled, "Do Not Be Afraid of God." Have you noticed that the more ardent religion, the more eagerly, like a mantra, repeats to fear God, and that this virtue? At the same time, it claims that God is good and wants our love because He loves us. It best reveals what kind of aberration these religions are permeated with. There cannot be true, sincere love for someone we fear. Such love will always be feigned and gestures learned, because fear of someone excludes true love. Do not be afraid of God in the smallest degree. You have to treat Him as a friend and partner in action. If God is the one to whom you should please, His good must be questioned. The old monotheistic religions were often based on the image of a monarch, a ruler who aroused admiration and fear for people who should have been pleased to obtain his favors. It is known what kind of rulers they are used to be. On the one hand, they arouse admiration and jealousy, possessing power and wealth unavailable for ordinary people, enjoying the comfort and applause of their court. On the other hand, how often they were vacant, capricious, demanded flattery, and reacted to the slightest resentment, fierce anger and vengeance. No wonder that simple people, drawing their vision of the most powerful being, based it on these associations and ideas together with all human vices, this time, however, inaptly explaining such an invented God with all his caprices and anger, assigning him the best intentions in love. After all, the speech was to be about God the most wonderful, worth worship, love and respect. How often fear of someone with respect for this person is mistaken. This is especially visible among the most depraved, evil people who, intimidating others, convince themselves that in this way they gain their respect. Confusing respect with fear is a lie that many people live in the naivety of their mind, convinced that the fear they feel is respect even for God. Nothing more wrong. Fear remains fear and fundamentally separates man from true closeness with God. Such a transfer of human traits that is presented in many elements of old religions to depict the concept of the highest God has wreaked havoc on humanity and prevented a healthy relationship with the divine being who should be closest to our heart in a natural way. Godliness is portrayed in religion as a virtue. God-fearing, that is, the one who is afraid of God, to which the many major religions' books explicitly call. The most eminent examples are the Old Testament and the Quran. Fear of God as virtue is nothing more than creating a whip over yourself in the form of your own imagination. This cannot be a virtue for a man who aspires to higher moral values, in which fear of God is not needed, because there are no reflexes in action against the higher values. It is necessary to ask ourselves whether we need as motivation for our own development and good, honest behavior of fear against austere God. A man standing at a higher level of conscious development and acting with such fear must neither be motivated, nor should he use it in relation to others, unless it is absolutely necessary to call them to integrity. It must be clearly stated that we live in a world of different people and different qualities, and a strong authority speaks to some of society, against whom they feel respect. However, fear of God should not be the reason for a particular behavior. It should not be a social norm. In the long term, fear rooted in religious indoctrination, even within honest and noble man, can be a subconscious barrier that separates him from being close to God. Therefore, do not be afraid of God. God, whom you should choose, is naturally good God. He is your friend. This image of God will help you a lot more on the path of life and spiritual improvement. Will you not want to be more eager in relation to your friend and do your best? It is much more natural for us to be fair to friends than forced authorities and monarchs. God is your friend. God just is, and you, if you want, you can turn to Him or go the other way, as long as you feel such a need. God accepts you as you are. The old monotheistic religions have a logical problem. They clearly speak of God's omnipotence and omniscience, and at the same time that He devotes some to the hardening of the heart and the rejection of His teachings, and then throws them into hell for eternal torment. At the same time, in their holy books, they repeat that it requires observance of their teachings, and punishes for deviations from orders. The wonderful, good God at the same time deliberately makes them think that some act against his teachings and punish for acting against his teachings. This is the best example of how the old monotheistic religions have not coped with the concept of God's omniscience and omnipotence, and at the same time assigning him only to being a good, loving parent. It is true that sometimes angry, but supposedly intended only for educational purposes. You, however, know that the true God goes far beyond human imagination, and your task is to choose his vision, through which he will be best and close to your relationship with him at the given time. Such vision which will bring out the best in you and let you be the best version of yourself. And when you take the next step in further verification of your knowledge and understanding of the world around you, your vision should also be refined to always be the best image of good, nobility and divinity you can afford. Imagination should never become your prison. When in other fields there is a deeper understanding and cognition of the nature of things, then the image should be readjusted to this knowledge, so that you always have the vision of a noble friend, which, in essence, you are an eternal element. You in him and he in you. It was a fragment of the book Alternative Bible entitled Do Not Be Afraid of God. If you like it, remember to click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more inspiring materials in the future. Link to the paper and digital version of the book in the description below.